he will be talking about Qt Creator, and I hope you're ready, Tobias, because I'll pass the. Very good. I'll try to use this very complex software. We are only software engineers, so it's not that easy for us to use this. I'll pass the presenter rights over to Tobias, and he'll be able to share some thoughts and tips and tricks from Qt Creator with you.
So, how does it work? Ah! It was not intended.
This is the way it is, people.
Full screen mode, yes. Here we go. So, hello. I hope everybody can hear me. Is there? Yeah. It's I'm not really doing webinars very often, so I hope this will all work out. So my name is Tobias. I'm a software developer at the Qt company, working here in Berlin. I'm part of the team responsible for the tooling in Qt, and that nowadays that mostly includes Qt Creator. But we also do the other standalone components like the widget designer and assistant, and basically all the executables that you get with Qt are done in our office. So today I want to present some introduction to Qt Creator, which is mostly targeting to new people, of course, but I tend to have rather long demos and only a couple of slides. And I hope that during the demo, even experienced users can pick up one or two tricks. So let's get started. So the first question, of course, is what is Qt Creator? And since I'm a software developer, I'm not really good with words, so I looked around and tried to find somebody with some definition. And of course, there's always Wikipedia for that. And Wikipedia says Qt Creator is a cross-platform C++, JavaScript, and QML integrated development environment. The editor's features include syntax highlighting and autocompletion, but not tabs. And I think there are some valid points in this definition, but I'm not completely happy with it. But let's go through some of the details. So the first thing I think is really well captured here on Wikipedia is the cross-platform aspect. So Qt Creator started as a Creative Friday project in our office by a couple of developers, and we as Qt developers obviously do have the need to develop on all kinds of platforms, or from Windows, Linux, Mac, and whatever. And it's really hard to do that if you constantly switch IDEs and platforms and text editors, and whenever you switch to another operating system, you got a different environment with the different keyboard shortcuts and stuff. So it's really hard to be productive in such an environment. So that's why we basically wanted to have an IDE which works well everywhere Qt is used, and by that point of time, that was basically all the major desktop operating systems. So Qt Creator, of course, works on Mac, Linux, Windows, wherever. So the second thing is language support. We do want to have an IDE for Qt development, and Qt developers routinely use a wide array of languages. And of course, the main ones for pure Qt development are C++, JavaScript, and QML. And so those are the ones we actually built into Qt Creator. And this built-in, I'm referring not only to have some basic syntax highlighting, but we have a real code model for these three languages in Creator, which basically means that Creator has the same information about your program that the compiler extracts from your source code. And with that information, it can do really powerful things. We do also support a couple of other languages. We have, for example, a Python plugin, which starts on having a code model for Python as well, but that's not yet fully done. And we also support a lot of other languages on a much lower level. So basically all we can do there is offer syntax highlighting and based on regular expressions and stuff like that. So that's really simple highlighting, but even that simple highlighting can already be a huge help. So the next thing Wikipedia highlights is that it is an integrated development environment. And with integrated, we basically mean that you can do the majority of your work inside Qt Creator and don't have to leave it too often. I say the majority because I really don't think it's practical to have an IDE, a general purpose IDE even, that's suitable for everything you will ever do while developing software. So we aim for basically you can do 90%. The rest of the rest has to be done in some other way outside of Qt Creator. But if we manage those 90%, we will be really happy. With integration, Wikipedia is of course referencing the integrated support for debugging and version control systems and all that stuff. So the next thing is syntax highlighting and auto-completion, and I already mentioned that a bit with the languages. For the most important languages, we have really great highlighting and auto-completion because we have the full syntax tree from your source code, and we can make use of that. And the final point I want to highlight here is not tabs, which is something I always find funny, because indeed we do not have tabs in Qt Creator, and because we basically think it's an interface that does not scale well to having lots and lots of files open, and in an IDE you routinely have dozens or even hundreds of files open. So we don't really see much sense in having tabs. Actually, it's an often requested feature, and we actually have rejected it a couple of times yet. So why am I not completely happy with that definition? Well, there are a couple of things that are missing. The first one is obviously Qt Creator is a plug-in based IDE, like basically all the other IDEs are as well. So the Qt Creator binary itself is like 80 kilobytes, and everything else is in plugins. And when we started out to develop Qt Creator, we basically wanted a fast and fun thing to work with. So something that starts fast and has keyboard shortcuts for everything, and can be used without a mouse. So, and something else we wanted to achieve is we wanted something that is reasonably pretty, like something that I can stare at for 8 hours a day without going blind, and something that basically puts your code in the focus and leaves as much room as possible to the code. And I think we managed quite well with this. Here you see a screenshot of Qt Creator. So I'm really proud of the fact that I can actually run demonstrations of Qt Creator on projectors with 1024 × 700 pixels and still show source code, and even with big fonts. So that's something we are really proud of that. And something else that I like to mention is that Qt Creator is suitable for development even without Qt. So I know for a fact that there are several Linux kernel developers that actually work with Qt Creator, even though that's of course not our main focus of development. Of course we do focus on Qt development, but for that we need great C++ and C support, and that is really valuable elsewhere too. And something that got more and more important over time, and was basically not that relevant in the first version we released, is that we also want to support Qt developers writing code for whichever platform and hardware they are targeting. So nowadays we have basically bare metal support, which is a plugin, which is still marked as experimental, so it needs to be explicitly enabled. And with that plugin, you are basically able to deploy and debug applications on microcontrollers with a couple of kilobytes of RAM. Of course, Qt won't fit in there, but you can still use Qt Creator to easily work with your code, develop your code, put it on the device, run it, and debug it there. And of course, we are also supporting desktop development on all the major platforms. But we also support embedded devices like embedded Linux development and also Android and iOS development, and even QNX and other platforms where Qt is available. So if you're looking into working on those kind of platform hardware, then Qt Creator is definitely something that should be interesting to you. So how do we actually manage to support such a wide array of hardware? And for that, I want to introduce one concept before I go over and start the demo mode, and that is the kits. So a kit, the definition, the UI to define one is on the slide, is basically a set of settings only. So you can have as many kits as you want. You can modify them however you see fit. And these settings contain all the information Qt Creator needs to build code for one particular device you want to target. So, for example, Android device or a certain iOS phone or a build or test server running Linux somewhere in the network. And the kit basically has all the information you need to build software for that machine. So it has a compiler, the toolchain to be used, the sysroot where the libraries and header files for that platform is. It has all the information to deploy your application once it's built to that device. Like, for example, in this case, on the screenshot, we are deploying to the local PC that's visible here, which basically means we don't copy anything over the network or whatever. But we still have a deployment or a set of steps for deployment which you can hook into for your own needs. And of course, you can also then run your application on that device and also debug it. Kits are basically just from Qt Creator's point of view, a kit is basically just a set of settings. So if this creator decides that something does not work together, then it will print a warning and inform you about that. But it will, in general, not stop you from actually using those settings. Because in our experience, developers usually know way better what works well and what kind of settings are needed to get their stuff running than any user interface or any IDE can ever do. So we do warn, but we will let you continue. So if you ever run into trouble, it might be worthwhile checking your kit's configuration for warnings and maybe fix them. So maybe you ran into the one case where actually the IDE was more correct about what's possible and what's not. So, is there any questions so far? We could answer those.
Yes. Thank you very much, Tobias. I'll take you up on that. There's actually quite a few already.
Oh, great.
Since you've been talking about the kits, there's a question if it is or would be possible to export and import kits.
At the moment, that's not really supported, mostly because the information in there is, or there's a certain likelihood that the information in the kit is specific to the development machine. Having said, so there is one way where you can actually, if you tightly control all the developer machines, then there is basically a way to define kits in the installer, or have a custom installer and define kits in that as part of that installation process. And we have a tool called SDK tool for that, which is rather bare metal, but gets the job done for our own kits in the Qt SDK installer. And so if you have that tight control, that might be something worth looking into, but in general, kits are not exportable.
And there was another question. You briefly talked about, you talked about tabs already. Are there any plans to include tabs in Qt Creator?
No, we actually rejected a couple of patches to include them.
Okay.
I know that there is a third-party plugin that does add them somewhere. I've seen that, I think, on GitHub somewhere. But I really don't think they make much sense, and I can show you a couple of other ways to navigate between documents, and that's part of the demo that I'm doing next.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I have a few more, but you can start with the demo, and we'll fill in as we go along.
Yeah, okay. Just interrupt me at any time if there's something matching.
Oh, yeah.
So, can you see my desktop? Does it work? Nobody shouts, so
I am able to see your desktop, and it does work.
Okay, so great. So this is basically Qt Creator with basically unchanged settings as it gets out of the box. This instance here is basically all I did was grab the latest Qt 5.4 release candidate SDK and install that. So what you see here is Qt Creator version 5.3 RC1 open source. And this should be pretty close to how it looks like when it gets out of the box. I did change a couple of things, but so it should not be relevant. Like basically I'm trying to make the fonts a bit bigger so it's better readable for the webcast. But that's basically the only change I did. There's one other thing that you might notice later. I started Qt Creator with in presentation mode, which will basically pop up a small window up here whenever I use keyboard shortcuts. Because during the demonstration I keep forgetting to mention what I'm actually doing, and this little pop-up is supposed to make it easier to follow what I'm doing there. So that's not enabled by default. There's a command line switch to do that actually. So if you ever get into a situation where you need to present Qt Creator, that's something to keep in mind. So let's get started with a short run over the user interface. I mean, it's pretty standard anyway. So you have a menu bar at the top, like basically all other applications have. This area here on the side, that's what we call the mode bar. Up here are several modes, which are basically pre-configured views for certain tasks of development. A bit lower here, you have a target selector, which is a fast way to switch between different projects and switch between applications to start and all that stuff. Down here we have currently disabled run, debug, and build buttons. I don't have any project open, so I can't build anything yet, so they're of course disabled. Then I continue at the bottom. Down here is a locator, which is basically a universal way to find stuff in your projects, and I'm coming back to that later. Then we have a couple of output panes for all kinds of different outputs that happens during development. Down here in the corner is a currently mostly invisible except for this small triangle progress bar. And well, basically all the rest of the screen estate is left to your code. And so whenever I start Creator for the first time, I tend to actually go through the settings, which are up here in Tools, Options. And I want to highlight a couple of things for you. So the first one is Environment Keyboard. Let me try to make this a bit bigger. that's basically where all the keyboard shortcuts are defined. So if you scroll down here, you see that there are actually a couple that have unset shortcuts, like here. So if you ever come in or run into some functionalities that you think that should be there and isn't, it might be worth checking here and filtering and searching for certain terms. Because in many cases we actually do support the stuff, we just don't have it bound to any action. And we had quite a few bug reports that we could actually close pointing to this configuration dialog here. Next thing I want to highlight is text editor fonts and colors, which is, if there's some highlighting you're missing, that's the place to go. We have quite a few of different color schemes, and you of course can have your own. I, for example, like to just copy the default one, and there's one thing here in, where is it, locals, so that's local variables. And I actually like to have them highlighted a bit better, so I just change that and apply, and that's what's going to happen. Finally, there's generic highlighters. Generic highlighters are basically used whenever Qt Creator does not know what kind of text it's dealing with. And these are basically then used to do regular expression-based highlighting of that text. So Linux users most of the time have already a pretty big set of pre-installed, but Windows users can just download them here. You have a small progress bar, and afterwards you have highlighting for a lot more files. That's just regular expression-based highlighting, but as I said before, that already can be really, really helpful.
Tobias,
yeah.
I am getting several questions about this presenter view and how you can enable that.
That's basically just a command line flag. It's minus presentation mode when you start Qt Creator.
Okay.
Let me check whether I can show that. I think I just, where did I put it? No, I didn't put it here. Sorry.
Oh, that dash presentation mode.
Yeah.
Quite good to know.
Actually, is it enabled? Let me check.
Well, no, I'm not sure it is.
No, it actually is not. So I upgraded Creator just a couple of minutes before the show. So of course I forgot to enable that. So let's just do that. Minus presentation mode. Okay. And now let's see. I made the claim that it starts fast, and it actually seems to work out. Was there some pop-up? No. No, that didn't work. So that's embarrassing. I'm not on my usual environment, so I'm feeling a bit challenged here.
Yeah, this is the challenge of changing to a Windows machine right before the actual presentation. I'm sorry, we have to force you to do that.
Yeah, I think it. Oh, what happened now? Where did it go? So let's try one more time. Afterwards, I give up. So it says presentation mode here. Yeah, see, there it is. Did you see the Control K here?
There we go.
Okay.
Very nice.
Sorry for that unforeseen upgrades happening.
Yeah.
You should not do that 10 minutes before starting a presentation. Anyway.
There's another piece of tip for you guys.
Any more questions?
Yeah, there's several different things. When you compile and install Qt Creator yourself, the Qt help documents are missing. Is there any way of getting those in?
You can actually add them. Where is it? There's a help documentation, and here you can add QCH files.
Exactly.
So, any more about the settings?
Yes, there's one regarding built-in support or the possibility of using plugins for test-driven development. there's a number of different tools to do this TDD.
We don't really have much in that area yet, but I would really like to see more happening there.
Mm-hmm. And it's also worth mentioning that obviously with the stable plugin architecture, it is not a problem to integrate with any of those plugins or any of those tools available there. But our set of pre-integrated tools is unfortunately limited.
Yeah, and I mean, we do have some support. So, for example, if you run Q test programs, then it will actually grabs the output and turns that into hyperlinks back to the source code and all that stuff. So we do have limited support for that, but no really great, complete, all-round solution for that.
Okay. Yeah.
So is there no more questions? I will just show the settings. So
yeah. Please go ahead.
That's the kids. That's the kids. So if you actually do something, what could I do here? Which is rather stupid. I could actually claim it's an Android device, and then I don't have any. So you see here, up here, that there's a warning with that kit, like no device set. But as I said before, we will just raise a warning. We will not try to actually fix it for you or whatever, because usually there might be a good reason for you to not have to do things that creators consider stupid. So yeah, so I just stick with the default one. So that's basically the settings. There are a lot more things in there. So if you seriously start to use Qt Creator, I really encourage you to go through all the settings and check them. There's quite a few things you can actually change. But these are the most important ones from my point of view, and where new users sometimes stumble over. So that's why I wanted to highlight these. So let's get started with some source code and navigation and stuff. So of course we have a couple of wizards up here in File New to get you started with a new project. But in my case, for this demonstration, I will basically just use some medium-sized project that I actually happen to know quite well. Let me delete this one here. And that's, of course, Qt Creator. So that, as I said, it's a medium-sized project that allows me to demonstrate a bit, and I'm not completely lost in the code base. So I think that's a good example for a demo. To open a project in Qt Creator, you just open the normal build system file. In QMake, or many Qt applications use QMake and have a .pro file, and so basically all you need to do is open it. Qt Creator tries really, really hard to actually work well with command line usage. So we use normal build system files. We basically just run the tools you would run on the command line for you. And that's basically to allow you to build your software any way you like on a test server, on a build machine, wherever, where you may not have Creator available. So we try really hard to actually integrate in that normal build system and just run the tools you would run on a command line. Qt Creator also does not change the build system in any way. It will just use what's there. And the only thing we put in your project is one file, which is whatever build system file you used, .user, and maybe some versions of that with chars and whatever version numbers on that if you switch between different Qt Creator instances and versions. But we try really hard to keep your source code clean of Qt Creator stuff. So when you open a project, you're asked to configure it for some target kit in that case. So I only have one installed, which is MinGW 32-bit on Windows. That's the one I'm going to be using. That will now parse my project, which takes a bit. We don't cache anything, so basically whenever you open a project, it's parsed fresh. So even if you use other programs to edit stuff, in your project, Qt Creator will not have outdated data about it. Parsing is actually pretty fast, so it's already done. So let's get started with code navigation. That's basically one of the main tasks you do when developing software anyway. So the main thing I want to highlight here is basically the locator bar down here, this little text area here. And as the name implies, we use that to locate all kinds of things. So, for example, let's find out how plugins are implemented in Creator. So, to activate, I can either click in here, or I can use a shortcut Control K, which will just give focus to that line it down there. So, in Qt Creator, we have some kind of naming standard. So, interfaces most of the time have start with an I. So, I care about plugins. So, let's look iPlugin. So, there's one in extension system. So, let's just go there. So, this is basically a very powerful way to search for stuff. So, in my case, I just used the C space, and that tells the locator to search for classes. You can do way more with that. So the dot searches in your current open document. So let's check whether there's anything init related. Yeah, there's an initialize method, so you can jump there. And see up here, you see the file name. We are currently in iplugin.h. So of course you can also open files. That's iplugin.cpp. So that's a very convenient way and fast way to jump around in your source code. So basically, if you want to go somewhere and use a locator, so if there's one thing you take from the session, please make it Control K, because that's the really cool navigation feature we have. So we can also look up, or for example, help text, like let's check QObject documentation, and that will just take us there. So, and you can do lots and lots of other things. So if there's no text in there, you basically get this help up here with all the different shortcuts you can do. So you could even search the web, since there was a question about test-driven development. So let's search Google for that. Yeah, so you can basically get anywhere in your code with a locator. So please make use of it. The other shortcut I want to highlight is escape. Whenever you hit escape, you get one step closer to your code. So if you hit escape a couple of times, you always get right back to your source code where you came from. And that's something you can get really, really used to. So it doesn't matter what kind of dialogues are open, just press escape and you can continue to work. So as I said before, if you leave the session and can only remember one or two things, please make that Control K and escape. So they're so convenient. But of course, there are some cases where Control K there are more convenient ways to jump around your code. So the first one is, of course, is F4, which basically jumps between the header file and the implementation file. Then, of course, we do have help. So if you're somewhere with a cursor, you can just get help by pressing F1. That's really simple. And of course, escape takes you back. And finally, there's some really nice feature, which is basically follow symbol. That's F2. And that takes you to the symbol wherever your cursor is on. So you can go to the plugin manager here, QObject, its definition of, I only have the header installed, so it's not going to go to the implementation of that one. But so F2 is basically a really, really convenient way to follow where your code is actually going. And so that's basically the first set of navigation features I wanted to introduce. Is there any question about these so far?
There are a number of questions. Let's see. I'm sorry I lost the thread there for a second, Tobias, but none. I'm sorry?
Better you than me.
Yes, exactly. So I had one question regarding the Visual Studio debugger and then the debugging options in Cube Creator. Are you getting back to debugging, or?
I might, depending on how much time I have.
Okay.
But, so let's just postpone that to the end.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind, please.
Yeah. And then.
Is there anything about these navigation options?
No, I don't see that many questions about the navigation.
Yeah, so that's just leaves the others for the end then. Is that okay? Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody can speak up anyway, so. Yeah, so next thing I wanted to show is navigation between open documents, because we don't have tabs, so we have to have something. And the first thing, obviously, is you can have open documents here, which is basically some kind of published view. You can also have several or more of these open by splitting this area here. Mouse users may find that convenient. I personally am not that big a fan of that, but of course we also have Control Tab and Control Shift Tab, which pops up this little window here, which has the open documents in the order you last assessed them. So it's really a really quick way to switch between two files back and forth. Then there's also basically history-based navigation, so that's Alt, left, and right, which basically takes you back to the places you've been. So think of it like the back button on your web browser. It works inside a document, but also between documents. So let's go back to the iPlugin one here. So you can also split the screen, which is that's actually done by Control E and Control 2 or 3. Why doesn't it work? Oh, I lost focus. I hate Windows. So you can also do that up here, split side by side or split.
Mm-hmm.
So
regarding all of these keyboard shortcuts, is there a cheat sheet or a simple way of learning the most or remembering the most important of all of these keyboard shortcuts?
There actually is a cheat sheet available or made available by KDAP. So if you Google for that, you will find it. They do a really great job of keeping that up to date for us.
Mm-hmm. And then after F2. After jumping in the document, how do you then get back to where you were? I guess that's what you just said, but
basically Alt left takes you back to the previous. Think of it a bit like the web history. It's in a browser, so you go somewhere with Alt left, you get back. With Alt right, you go forward again.
Exactly.
So let me just jump to the key object, for example, and jump right back. Does that explain it?
Oh, yes.
Okay, great. So, if there's no more questions about the navigation stuff, let's go into some more interesting things. So, understanding your code.
Yeah. There was one question regarding the split screen. How do you unsplit it? I guess.
That's actually Control E0, or up here in the where is it? Split. Remove current split.
Or just press the X.
Yeah, that works. No, that will close the editor, actually.
Yeah, when you only have one.
Here you can actually split and unsplit again. So there's UI elements for that too. The next chapter on my demonstration section here is titled Understanding Code. And one thing that's obviously very helpful is F2 already. which basically allows you to follow your functions and function calls. But we also, of course, do have a class view, which arranges or shows your project based on namespaces, classes, and what's in there. We also have the outline, which is pretty similar, but only has the definitions of the current file. So that's basically another nice way to navigate in one file, which is actually up here. It's pretty much a similar list up here, so you can use that too. And of course, you can use Control-K to go anywhere you want.
In the top combo box, is there any way of sorting the methods different ways, for instance, alphabetically?
Sort alphabetically is when you right-click, there's an option to sort alphabetically or in the order, and they are defined. So just right-click, and in the context menu there, you can actually enable that. So next thing I wanted to show is the type hierarchy. So, for example, we want to know how many iPlugins there are in Qt Creator. So we can do Control-Shift-T, and that will take a bit because it has to go through all the code. And here you see that's the type hierarchy for iPlugin. It's derived from QObject, and the following classes here, all these derive from it. So Bazaar plugin, for example, derives from VCS-based plugin. That's a very handy way to jump around the code if you care about the inheritance hierarchy and all that stuff. And finally, there's something that I quite like a bit. So it's basically find usages. So if you care to know where the add object, for example, is used, just hit Control-Shift-U, and Creator will search all your sources, and you can just go there and check all the usages, which is actually quite nice if you have to actually make sure that all the usages have some precondition met or whatever. Sometimes it's really useful. So that's basically what I wanted to highlight about understanding your code. There's no question about this.
There was one question, if you could display or outline the class hierarchy sorted by the method visibility, if it's private, public, protected, etc.
Oh, I'm actually not sure. I have not tried that yet. Oh, where's some nice namespace? Internal. I mean, you can see what's public and private here, so they have different icons, but I'm not aware about limiting what's displayed there.
Okay, so there's no current functionality for limiting or sorting according to the visibility. So there's a call to action for anyone interested in implementing a small Qt Creator plugin.
Yeah, it's an open source project, so. So, if you can find stuff, then it's also, of course, let's go back to iPlugin.h. So you can of course also rename things. So that's the Control-Shift-R. But it just allows me to rename something. That's object. OBJ is such a stupid word, so let's just change that to object. And of course, it also works with more complex stuff. So add object method. Let's just rename the add object method. And this is basically you get a list where it's used, and you can just let's change that to my add object. So now it's changed everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I just got a question now if there's any plugins to support code refactoring before you started this. So very.
We do have quite a bit of refactorings in the normal plugins we ship. So most of them in the CPP support, but also in the QML and JavaScript support plugins. So you can basically rename everything, every symbol, every class name, every namespace, members, functions. One word of advice though, doing this here is not a good idea, because it will shamelessly rename QObject in your Qt headers for you. We try to make sure that the installations we do are write protected as good as that gets, but if on some platforms like Windows, that's not always working the way we expected. So better check what you are renaming and make sure you don't have these things here in there.
And regarding all of these shortcuts, several people are wondering if they could change or add their own shortcuts, and
of course,
that is definitely the case.
That's Tools, Options, Environment, Keyboard. So here you can redefine everything as to your liking. We also have VI support and Emacs support, so if you are one of the users of these things, you can get an emulation mode where these popular text editors are more or less well emulated. So now what do I do? Escape, get me back to my code. So let's write some code. So something that's rather convenient is we have snippets, and in this completion pop-up here, these are marked by a red dot, and they are basically pieces of text with variables in it. It's actually pretty simple. So test plugin, and wherever that variable is, it will be replaced. So it's actually quite simple. Let's make that iPlugin. Public iPlugin. And now we can actually use some nifty refactoring features. So the first one is that's alt and return. To trigger that, we can insert virtual functions on the base classes. So iPlugin has these two pure virtual methods, so these are checked by default. And I can actually add some more if you want to. I can just ask it to insert them. And here they are. I didn't pay attention, so I actually want these methods in the CPP file, not in the header. So I can actually move them again with alt return. I just move them over. Can go back. Well, let's move that one here too. And let's implement something. QDebug. Where this keyboard is completely different than what I'm used to. These were the arguments, and arguments. Let me make a bit more room here. So this one here. So we have this method here, and it's definitely right here, so I can switch with F2, of course. But let's say arguments is too long because we have such a limited resolution. So let's just change that, and you will see a nice little light bulb pop up here. And so it basically says you can do something here. So let's apply this function signature changes. So, and now it went over to the CPP file and also replaced the arguments we had here. And of course, it also replaced all the usages of that. So there are a couple of small things that are really, really nifty and that you get really used to. So we have lots and lots of quick fixes. Another one we have is, for example, it doesn't work here. Let's try it here. Let's just do a string. And we can actually ask Creator to mark the string as translatable, and it will do whatever is needed to actually translate that string. So if we did it, this class is derived from a QObject, so it has a tr method set, so it uses this one. If it isn't, it would have inserted QCore application translate and whatever. So that's a really convenient way to just forget about all the translation stuff and just let Creator do that for you. We also can do nifty things with properties. So that's Q underscore property, of course. So here you notice another, by this red dot, there's another snippet. And basically I can just, it asks for a type. So let's say we have a Q string. And we want to call that property test. See it, it has the read, the write, and the notify fields set. And then actually, no, that was okay. So when I actually apply my changes and actually also capitalizes this T, which was not the case before. But so it actually does follow the coding standards here. And so one of the quick tricks we have here is basically generate missing property members, and that way I can basically implement a property really, really fast. And there's tons of other things. We do have quite a bit of documentation on that topic. So Qt Creator comes with a manual. It's really worth reading it if you plan to actually use Creator in earnest. I really recommend using the manual. It's pretty complete and actually quite well written, and it can save you a lot of time.
So there's, looking at the properties, there was a question if there's, as someone says, they are creating properties manually and have to move them one by one to the CPP. And others are also asking if there's any way of moving multiple methods to the CPP file.
There's none yet, as far as I know. But that's something I would definitely love to see.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Any more questions related to this stuff? Well, there's tons more of these small quick fixes. There's just a couple I wanted to highlight. So. And they are actually documented. So,
can you edit or create new snippets?
You can edit, create new snippets. That's really easy. It's up here in Tools, Options, Text Editor, Snippets, and we have you can basically have different groups. This group here applies to C++ code. This one to generic text. This one to QML, and you can actually change them here by basically adding the variables, and this is where the cursor will end up in the end. So go over this, define your own, change hours, do whatever you like.
And there's a question if you're able to extract code into a new method.
I'm not sure, let's check. So actually there's refactor, extract function, test function. Yep, so it kind of works. Yep, there is something.
Cool. Okay, and are there any plugin support for beautifiers, as people say?
We do. I mean, we do indentation and that stuff, and we also have a plugin about. I've seen some beautifier plugin, but I think it's disabled by default. So you have to enable it here, and then you will get a new settings pane where you can actually do that stuff, define that stuff. It's a third-party plugin by Lorenz Haas. So
exactly. And if people want to have other types of plugins or any other, I mean, it's an open API for writing plugins, so that's easily done if you want to have your specific favorite plugin, if it's for this or anything else, into Qt Creator.
Yeah, one word of caution: we do not promise to keep API between minor versions even. So between 3.3 and 3.4, we will change API in some places.
Okay.
So let me just have one more thing that's basically sessions. Sessions are just a way to actually basically save the complete state of Qt Creator, including open projects, open documents, breakpoints, bookmarks, and all that stuff. So you can save that state and have several of these. Like, for example, I could switch here, and it will say ask me what I want to do here. I better not save them. Okay, I did something wrong here, but that doesn't really matter. So let's. So basically, this allows you to switch between sets of open projects with all the information all about debugging, breakpoints, and all that stuff. So by default, when you close a project, all that information is lost, and sessions are the way to keep them. Actually, here in the welcome mode, you can actually select the session and to start up, but by default, we do not start the last open session that was open when you closed Gradle last time. That's basically because opening a session can take quite a bit of time because it parses a lot of projects. So we do not do that by default, but you can actually enable that with a command line switch, if that's the way you want it to. Yeah, that's basically all the stuff I wanted to show in my demo.
Okay, thank you very much. It's been most enlightening.
I do have a couple more slides.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just a couple more. So let's just keep any more questions for later. So
yeah.
Basically, it's just a short summary of the most important keyboard shortcuts in Qt Creator. That's Escape to get to your code, Alt left right for history-based navigation, Control tab, Control Shift tab for that small pop-up window with the recent documents, F1, F2, F4, and for help, follow symbol, switch header source, Control Shift U, find usages rename, quick fixes, and the one I really want you to remember, of course, Control K. Then I have another slide which I basically put there, so the URLs are in the presentation and can be looked up. And the only thing I want to highlight here is the Qt Creator manual, which I really encourage you to read. And that's stuff I wanted to show you. So let's have some more questions. We don't have that much time left, I think, but
no, we have, I think, a minute. Thank you very much. I had one question regarding debuggers, and if it's possible to get for example, the Visual Studio debugger integrated into the Visual Studio kit.
That's what happens by default. If Qt Creator tries to detect Visual Studio compilers and the debugging tools are a separate, or used to be at least, a separate download from Microsoft.com. So we cannot install them for you. You have to do that yourself, unfortunately, because we cannot redistribute those. But if they are installed, Qt Creator should pick them up and should automatically add them to the relevant kits. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't, you can clone the kit and do it yourself.
Exactly. And the other one was regarding JavaScript debugging in Qt Creator.
Yeah, we have support for that, but I've never used that myself in earnest, and so I would like to hand that question over to follow-up presenters which actually are more knowledgeable in that area and will probably also show debugging anyway.
Okay, maybe that's a call to action for our next presenter. I don't know. So thank you very much, Tobias, for sharing spending your time with us here today.
You're welcome.
And it's been a pleasure. With that, I'll
thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. With that, I'll try to share my own screen with you guys. There, I hope you can see today's agenda again.